We are finally live on the video. I'm so sorry. This computer is delayed, and I had clicked the streaming section, and it wasn't streaming. So there was video up the whole time on this end. It just didn't translate. I'm so sorry about that. You guys could hear my audio, though? Yes or no? No audio? Okay. Let's get started right away then. We're starting with academic vocabulary, and it's in the context of climate change. Climate change is very important for all of us as global citizens. We're going to go in and, all right, everybody's very excited about that. French, Leo, the audio shows that it's working on this end. Can everybody else hear the audio? Is that right? Audio. Oops, misspell there. Is the audio up? So we're going to jump right in, look at academic vocabulary. Good. Okay, excellent. So welcome. I said hello to everybody because it looked like the video was working on this end, and it wasn't, and I'm so sorry. I'd pressed stream, and it looked like it was streaming, and it wasn't. So I apologize. We'll move really quickly today. Alejandra, I do not send you an invite as a premium subscriber. You already should be. Go ahead and go to smrt.me, Alejandra, and see if it will let you log in, okay? You should have a class. If you don't, let me know. Alejandra is a premium subscriber, as is Rosa and Sarbajit. Welcome, everybody. We're going to move really quickly here and go over some of these academic vocabulary words and then look at our academic reading. The good news is this academic reading is going to take a couple classes. So it's really big, much like you would get presented to you in an academic class, probably science class. You know, maybe you're taking a 101, or maybe even an upper level meteorology class would go over something like climate change and an article like this. Vivek, you also are premium, yes, and you're a premium guy. So we have so many returning people. I want to say hello to everybody, which I normally do at the beginning of the chat and the stream, but we are short on time today. So academic word list. I asked earlier, but nobody could hear me, what does context mean? What does context mean? And I did answer all your questions, and I'm so sorry because the stream wasn't live. But let me go back and answer them really quickly for you. Rosa, you'd asked about corpus analytics. We can talk about that later. Send me an email. Let's chat about it outside the stream, okay? The topic for today is academic reading strategy and academic vocabulary in the context of climate change. So we're looking at these academic vocab words that you would encounter if you're taking the IELTS or TOEFL or any number of standardized tests, which we can talk about standardized tests another day and my opinion of them. And we're going to look at, yeah, August says, academic word power. I like that. I kind of want to borrow that phrase from you. I want to take that and use it for one of our lessons. Can I do that? Would that be okay, August? Can I call one of these series academic word power? I like it. That's a cool phrase. Context, Rosa says, is how we can know the meaning of a word from the context. That's a good attempt at a definition, but I'm going to call you out a little bit and say we can't really use a word in its own definition, okay? I avoid that at least. Alejandra, you couldn't hear me say what we're going to do. We are going to look at a reading that is academic on the topic of, and I'll type this in the chat for you, climate change. Climate change. And climate change is the world's temperatures being affected by human activity and becoming warmer and colder to the point where it can be detrimental to the environment, and therefore we're part of the environment. Oh, where should you go? So the video, Alejandra, stream is, let me bring it up for you here. Okay. The video stream is going to be right here, so you should be watching this video. If you're worried about where to go in the curricula, don't worry. I can give you a lesson on that later. It's not going to affect anything. There's the video link, which you guys are probably on right now, but then smrt.me, and then you will go to me, the me page. If it doesn't show up, Alejandra, I will help you with it later today, okay? I can't right after class because I have a meeting to go to, but I will help you with it later, okay? I can send you a video and show you where to log in and all that. We make sure to treat our premium subscribers really well, and we'll make a video for you or give you a lesson on it, okay? So don't worry about that. Okay, so let's look at some of these words. I'm going to briefly explain them because we don't really have time to go over all of them, and we're going to go over them again next class just to refresh. But here's some that are maybe yet unseen by you. We have exacerbating, to make a situation a little bit worse or more extreme. Advent is like the creation of something. Atmosphere is the situation, if we're using it slang. If it's the actual atmosphere, it is the layer of gas around the earth. Carbon. Carbon is a byproduct, and it's also a natural thing that is created. We're carbon-based life forms. It's a biological byproduct. Climate. Climate is a way to say temperature. CO2, thank you, Rosa. Coal. Coal is a natural resource that exists. It's something that we burn for heat or electricity, but it is detrimental to the environment if we burn a lot of coal. Correlation is a connection between two things that is perceived. It is not necessarily causation. And there's a big topic where we could talk about causation versus correlation. That's a fun topic that, if you remind me next class, we'll talk about. Causation versus correlation. Very interesting topic. Dissipate. If someone is breathing and it's very cold outside, you'll see the fog and the smoke, looks like smoke, come out of their mouth, and then it sort of disappears. If someone smoked a pipe or a cigarette and that smoke sort of disappears into the sky, that's dissipate. Fusion is the connection, permanent connection of two things. Glacial is an adjective to describe glaciers. And there's some glaciers near where I live here in the United States and between the US and Canada that are beautiful, so gorgeous. It is like a mountain of ice. That is a glacier. These are just so cool. These look like Arctic glaciers. This is what the glacier looks like near us. Oh no, that's Austria, but it does look like that. Glacier National Park is near us. It's so beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna go right into dissipate is spread, not exactly. You were thinking disseminate. Disseminate, like to spread information, to leave information. Disseminate is probably the word that you learned or are thinking of, and it's a different word. Is different from dissipate. Okay, and Raza, it's kind of close, but those are two very different words. Jeune fusion reminds you of trunk and gatten. I don't know what that is, actually. What is that? Vivek, we wouldn't really use correlation in that way. You can try again. Try another example sentence for me, okay? Habitat is the place where animals and plants live. Also, human beings. What is our habitat? Our habitat is our, locally where we live, but it's also our world, our planet. Correlation with Rosie is very official. No, we wouldn't really say that, Vivek. We would say something different. You might say your connection, your relationship, your something like that, but we wouldn't really say correlation in that way. Oh, Dragon Ball anime. Awesome, Jundi. Very cool. I understand now totally. Fusion. Yes, of course. Okay. Esra, hi. How are you? It's good to see you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the pre-reading today, and then you can do the reading at home if you're a premium subscriber. I will send a link to our premium subscribers in an email after class, and that will be your homework, to read and to come up with 5 questions for the chat for next class, okay? That's the homework for today for premium subscribers. And I'm going to skip going over the homework today because we're running short on time and it's my fault. I apologize. But we will look at that later. I will give you feedback for premium subscribers. And then I was saving it until the chat today. We were going to look at it, but we're short on time. So homework for today for premium subscribers is to do the reading. I will email you the link after class and come up with 5 questions to ask next class. So your questions can be as simple as, what does this word mean? I looked it up in the dictionary and I don't know what it means. The last 5 minutes of class or 10 minutes of class, we're going to go over reading strategies to help you, but so that you can do the whole reading on your own. But it could be as simple as what does this word mean? I looked it up. I still can't understand the difference. Or it could be as complex as, this topic is the opinion of whom. We could look at it holistically as a topic, or we could break it down into sentence level stuff. We could answer grammar questions. Really, it's up to you as the student. What did you get from this reading? And then I will come up with questions for you that are more focused that we can talk about as a class. Let me see. Dairy. Hi, how are you? Good to have you in class. Okay, I'm trying to catch up. Okay. So, Rosa, you should share it with me. So premium subscribers, share those questions, but we are going to ask them next class, okay? I'd like to see them beforehand just to help guide or to clarify, to make the questions really strong. But we're going to look at them and ask them in class. I'm just going to let students ask their own questions, and if they don't want to ask them, I'm going to type the questions in the chat and then talk about it, okay? So let's look at these pre-reading questions, and then we'll read a paragraph or two, and then I'll talk about reading strategy. So pre-reading, we'll use these questions as a discussion. Question number 1. People often trust the opinions of experts such as doctors and scientists without questioning what they say. Yet these experts sometimes disagree. What should people do when this is the case, when this happens? So we trust experts, right? For the most part, you would trust me as your teacher when it comes to English and English explanations. Now, you should always question me. You should always question your teachers with an amount of academic respect, right? We should respect each other. I should respect my students. My students should respect me academically. So when I say question, I don't mean argue with, other than academically. So if you believe something is wrong, you should question it. You should say, actually, I think this is true. what will happen is twofold. Either someone will say, well, I believe that that's not true because blah, 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 right? Here's some evidence. Or they will say, you know what? You are right. I understand that now. So somebody learns. It's a learning moment. It's a moment for learning and an opportunity for learning. So it's very important to do that. But we put a lot of trust in our doctors, in scientists. If you go to your doctor because you're feeling sick, you trust what they say to be true. But it's also suggested that you get a second opinion. So what do we do if two doctors disagree? What do you do? How do you resolve that? So that is the question for the chat. How do you resolve a disagreement between two experts whom we trust? Doctors, for example. Oh, that should be a question mark at the end of that phrase there. When they disagree, we should just follow our guts, live our lives, and leave them to argue. Nora, you're great. You're so positive. I gotta tell you though, if my doctor tells me I have cancer, and then I go see another doctor, and that doctor says you don't have cancer, I'm not just gonna go with my gut. Respectfully, Nora, I disagree with that opinion, because if you go with your gut and you actually have cancer and you could have gotten treatment to save your life, that's kind of a big deal, right? I know you're being funny, and I love your statement. It's great. But what do we do? Come on, let's talk this out. Let's discuss. How do we resolve this disagreement? Okay, Darian? Derry? Is it Derry? Amin? Derry? Derry, maybe? Anyhow, Derry, you say the best thing is to get a third opinion. That's true. I would agree. I would say that that's true. If we can ask enough experts and then there's a consensus. A consensus is a good academic word. What does consensus mean? What does that word mean? So consensus, if you're using it academically, means an overall agreement, an overall accord that can be reached. Yes, Rosa, excellent, good job. So let's say we have 10 doctors, and it turns out that 9 of them agree, and it's just that one other doctor. If I just see 2 doctors, and one says, yes, that's the case. The other says, no, that's not the case. If I go ask 8 other doctors, and all of them say one or the other, besides that other doctor, it's probably true, right? We get a bigger sample size of experts. So if I say something about the English language and you disagree, we can talk about it and possibly find a resolution. I can explain why something is true or why something is not true, and we can agree or we can disagree. But imagine this, you ask me about something, I tell you the answer, and then you don't believe me. So you go ask 10 other English teachers, and they all agree with me. Are you going to think that I was correct? Probably. As long as pride doesn't get in the way, we'll probably agree, right? I've had to swallow my pride sometimes and be like, oh, I was wrong. I do that a lot with my girlfriend Amy up in Canada. I have to say, I was wrong. You're smarter than me. So if there's consensus, if there's a overwhelming opinion that is true, that is the best case. So I agree with Derry that a third opinion is good, also a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. Let's say all of our country's scientists agree. All of the leading scientists agree. And it's just 1 or 2 or 3 people that are kind of crazy that say something isn't true. Who do we believe? All the scientists or a few crazy people? Okay. Vivek, you are leaving to the future and fight until you lose your breath. I'm not sure what you're talking about, if that's an example sentence or not. Steve says, ask another person. If there's no consensus, then we're in really big trouble. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes there is no real consensus. All that means, though, is that we have to do more research. Search for more scientific facts and proof and evidence to support our opinions or our beliefs, right? Our assessment of the situation. Okay. Vivek, still not understanding that sentence. It depends on experience of the doctors. Alejandra, good point. Yeah, what is their credibility? What is their credibility? When we teach, when I teach and we learn about writing after this, so we're going to do some reading exercises and strategy, and then listening exercises and strategy, and then we're going to go back into writing a little bit. When we do that, we're going to talk about rhetoric and ethos, pathos, and logos, and how that affects our writing. So that's a very good point. You're going to love that topic, I think. Nora, men are always wrong. Yeah, we're wrong a lot. That's true. Long distance relationship. Why, Josh? Akram, question for another day. Let's see. Number of people who have the same meaning not necessarily are right. You are right. Okay, so French Leo, great point. I love this discussion, guys. You are an amazing class. Did you know that? You're an amazing class. So Akram says there can be consensus and people can still be wrong. Yes, you are so right, and that's an important thing to look at. Just because there's consensus doesn't mean it's right. Let's think about terrible things in the past. Hitler, for example, Adolf Hitler was charismatic enough of a leader that he could sort of, we would say, brainwash his listeners, the people that would listen to him, and convince them that they should do terrible things, right? But it's important, French Leo, to understand that these are not experts, right? So there was consensus among the Nazi party to do terrible things to people of the world, but they were not experts. They were following a brainwashing leader that was telling them lies, okay? So consensus doesn't necessarily mean authenticity, but consensus among academic experts. That's who we're talking about here. Academic experts like scientists, teachers, professors. If there's consensus among those experts, especially when it's worldwide, it's pan-cultural. Pan-cultural. Do you know that word? Pan-cultural is a way to say among all cultures. Pan-cultural. That means across all cultures. So some things are true across all cultures, right? Smile, for example. I am not aware, in all my research in anthropology and linguistics and culture training, I don't know of any culture where a smile does not mean happiness or friendliness. I mean, there's different types of smiles, yes, but when I smile at you, when you smile at me, it usually means we're friendly, right? Music, dancing, that exists in every single culture that I'm aware of. Mathematics, that exists in all cultures I'm aware of. Science exists in all cultures I'm aware of. So things like that, like science that is pan-cultural, if there's consensus, then it is probably correct. Okay, I'm going back up. People have the same meaning. Okay, so thank you, French Leo. That was a great comment. Alejandra, majority does not always have the right answer. Yes, but remember, we're talking about the majority of experts here for this topic. Writing again. Wow. Rosa, don't worry. It's going to be a ways out. We have a lot of other things to cover before we start writing again. Don't worry. Boba, hey, how are you? Good to have you. I haven't got a chance to say hi yet, so hello. Romina, you didn't see very well. Okay, so Romina, reduce your quality. So go from HD to like a lesser pixel rate, and you should be okay. Drop it down. Go to 720 or below. And yeah, change the quality of your video, Chari. Thank you for that advice. Rosa, this is not just an opinion because they reach it after a long period of research. Yes, Rosa is correct there. Frying pan, saucepan, pan culture. Pan is like a ubiquity, guys. Not just the word pan, but good job. Hi from Algeria. Hello, how are you? Okay. Listen to both sides and you'll believe the one who convinces you. William. Yes and no. That it is important, but you have to understand that some people can be more convincing than correct. And I go back to my extreme example of Adolf Hitler. He was more convincing than correct. He was very charismatic. Hitler was a great public speaker, okay? But he was a terrible person that did awful things. So you can be charismatic and a great speaker, but also not informed and unintelligent and terrible. So that can happen. Consensus is important amongst academic experts. Academic experts are in search of the higher truth, the real meaning to help everyone. Most scientists that I've worked with or encountered, they are very, very eager to help all people of the world, or to help explain for all people of the world elements of their field or science. So, okay, great questions. We can't trust someone's opinion based on our guts. We should try to become a specialist in the subject, or at least gather enough information to understand it clearly and have an opinion. KO, so yeah, you're absolutely right. Lots of people who go into science or a field, they disagree with what's happening, so they study it. To a degree, Einstein did that. He was fascinated by it, and he didn't believe everything he heard, so he challenged it. That's how you become a great expert. Absolutely. Peter Pan, we're still in the pan thing, huh? Apple Pen. Oh my gosh, this is devolving rapidly. This is just like the internet, right? Okay. We're taking a bad turn, guys. This is an academic class. Let's refocus. Okay. Oh my gosh. Consensus between so-called experts. I don't know if there's a good word for it, Faria. I would say expert consensus. We would just use that phrase. The expert consensus on climate change is that it is very real. It is caused by human activity, right? Our usage of fossil fuels is creating this this detrimental effect on our environment, on our global environment. So, yes. Okay, so the topic, Algeria, I can't read your name because I don't read Arabic. I have not learned yet. But the topic is academic vocabulary in the context of an academic reading on the topic of climate change, which we haven't even got to the reading part yet. So I'm going to go over reading strategy, and then I'm going to set you guys loose. So this was great opening discussion. There is another topic here, but our discussion went so long, I'm going to move forward, all right? So is there something technical or scientific that you want to know about or confirm? What would be the first person or source you would look to? We'll talk about that perhaps next class, or you guys can talk about it amongst yourselves in the chat after. So here is a little bit of strategy. I know I said we're going to read some paragraphs and then go back to strategy. Let's talk about strategy first, though. Hello, everyone. Hannah, good to have you here. Oh, Akram, thank you. A Muslim girl. Okay, so a Muslim girl from Algeria. Hello, how are you? Okay. Nora says, sometimes scientists have only theories if the problem is new, so what should we do in this case? When it's theory, everyone treats it as theory. That's all it is. I mean, some theories can last hundreds of years. The theory of relativity, there used to be a theory that said the Earth was flat. That lasted for a very, very long time. There's still a small group of crazy people who believe the Earth is flat, like really believe it. It's not. By the way, there's a ton of scientific evidence that shows that it is not flat. But theories can last a long time. When it's just theory, most good scientists readily admit that. They don't state it as a fact. They don't state it as absolute truth. There are some things that we can observe and replicate, and it is a fact. We would say it is a fact. The sun rises. Well, you know what I mean. Rotation of the earth and whatnot. But I'm trying to think. Humans need oxygen to survive. We can prove that, right? That's very, very evident. That's something that is just true. We need water to survive. Humans need to drink water to live. It's empirically true. It's absolutely true. But when it's just a theory, most good scientists don't state it as fact. They'll say, this is just a theory. I want you to know this is just what we think. It's only when they have enough evidence that they can say, yep, it's true. This is a fact. We can state this as something true within our knowable world. Was my punctuation accurate? So-called. Yes. Good job for you. Good job. It doesn't have consensus with experts. Yep, French Leo. Guy's an idiot. All right. Rosa says it's not her name. Pseudonym. We don't say pseudonym, Akram. Pseudonym. Pseudonym. There's a word for it. Evolution. Alejandra, lots of people debate evolution, and that's a whole nother topic. Okay. Theory is something that is not checked. French Leo, a theory can be something that is being checked. It's being researched, and they're trying to prove it. Okay. Quantic theory. I think you mean quantum theory, quantum string theory. Particle physics and quantum mechanics are very interesting to me, so we could talk more about that later. Okay, I think proved or rejected. Yes, eventually, Rosa, theories are proved or rejected. Some theories wind up being hokum, just nothing. And then some theories wind up proving to be true. Gravitational waves, for example. Stephen Hawking might finally get a Nobel Prize, which is so good, fascinating. It's awesome. Okay, so let's look at a little bit of strategy for reading. So this is a preview of the reading. I'm going to zoom out and just show you what we're going to be reading and looking at the next couple classes. So this is what academic reading looks like. If you have a textbook in university, in a science class, it might look very much like this. So we have graphs, we have reading, which contain graphs inside them, images here, figure 1. We call them figures in textbooks, so figure 1, figure 2. And there's our references, which if you took our APA courses, you know what those look like. And then we have post-reading exercise. But you can see this is a lot of reading, a lot of academic vocabulary, images, figures, and we're going to go over some strategy here. So as you're reading academic materials, whether it's a journal or a book, or anything, really an online article. When a text contains charts or tables, it provides key information. They're not included just for show, right? If we read a magazine, they have photos of celebrities and stuff. If you read those kind of trashy grocery store magazines, which is basically every magazine these days, if you read those, they have photos that are just for flair, for showiness. But if you see something in academic writing, like a graph or a table, it is there for a purpose, a reason. It's important information to the reading. So if you see graphs, charts, or tables, it provides key information, and it can be quickly previewed before in-depth reading and allow students to prepare for what might be some confusing or complex statistics or data. So we want to read these charts kind of first. You want to skim. Skimming is when you search through the reading quickly, and you just sort of look at the information loosely. So you preview pages, and you stop and look at tables or graphs or organizers. So I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. You read any headings they have, but you don't spend a lot of time on the small details. So this is important. If you're taking notes here are the notes that you would write. You would write skim the reading first. Skim the reading first. Look at all charts, headings, and statistics or data. And then you will not spend a great amount of time on the small details. I can't speak. You will not spend a great deal of time on the small details. It's like a tongue twister. Not too much time on small details. Okay? And I'm going to go back and look at your comments in a minute, but I want to finish this idea. We're going to read headings. Don't spend a lot of time on the details. Pay close attention to the title as well as the X and Y axes. So this is the graph title, whatever's up top there. Sometimes it might be on the side or the bottom, but it's usually large letters, could be bold. This is the Y axis, the vertical axis. The horizontal axis is called the X. So we have X, Y, okay? X and Y. So the Y axis is the up and down. The X axis is the horizontal axis. So pay attention to what those figures are. It can change the correlation or the understanding of the sentence. Okay, give me just a second here. I have comments on the comments, but it'll take me just a minute. I want to finish this. So we're going to look at this line graph. We're going to look at the x-axis, y-axis, so both axes. And then we're going to look at this graph, read the title. So let's find all the parts of the graph. What's missing? Here's the title. That's there. We have our y-axes, parts per million by volume. But then we don't have a quantifiable, substantial title here on the x-axis. So the x-axis it could be anything. That could be like times Joshua has said the word awesome in his life. I've said it 2,000 times. That has no real bearing on parts per million by volume of the atmospheric concentrations of carbon dioxide, right? It doesn't. It's craziness. So, good morning, Yusuf. Good to have you. You're just catching the end of class. Okay, so this would be a bad chart. It would be ineffective. It would not be helpful. So what is this a diagram of? And why do we think that? It's showing a process. What is the process of? So we're going to organize the steps of the process into a series on sentences. We'll talk more about this, but we can look here and say this is a chart or an image of the greenhouse effect. So this gives us an idea of what the greenhouse effect is. So we have, actually let's talk about this image later. Tell me what you think this image is or share it in the chat with someone. We'll revisit this next class, okay? So, reading strategies. Remember, skim first, preview the reading. Here's the exercise for premium subscribers. You're going to make a copy of the exercise here. Use the information and make a prediction. It says with the group, if you talk to other students, share that information, chat about it, but predict what you think the reading will talk about using the information from the organizers. And then you'll have 2 minutes. Take 2 minutes, time yourself, set your watch or phone, and skim the reading, okay? Skim that reading and go over each paragraph just quickly. You're not going to go over it in detail. You're not going to read the whole thing. I noticed someone says you should read it really quickly. Don't do that. Just skim over it, okay? And then make sure you get the main points, the titles, the headings, the graph, charts, and the axes, and then take notes on the main ideas of each paragraph, okay? And then complete the reading. So here's my last advice for reading strategy. Reading strategy is don't look up, not to look up words you don't know. You don't know during your reading. And this is a very real strategy. You can make notes, but do so quickly and don't take the time to look up every word you don't know. Now, looking up every word you don't know is a strategy when you're learning English early on, But American students do this same thing. American students who've learned English their whole life and spoke and read and listened to English their whole life, they will see words here they don't know. And they will use this same strategy in academics. So I'm teaching you strategy that also applies to American college students. Same thing, okay? So I'd like you to do this, give it a shot, remember those notes I explained, and then if you have questions, just find me in the chat or send me an email, okay? Thank you, everybody. I do have to go. I'm going to quickly go through the chat and see if I can answer any more questions, and then I'm going to leave you guys. Pseudonym, Jundi, you are right. It is spelled pseudonym. That is the correct spelling. That's the word I was saying earlier. Proved or rejected. Okay, I went back too far. Sarbajit, electricity problem. No problem. I had some technical difficulties too. So happy to see you. This is so tough. Alejandra, I'm speaking very quickly, but let's chat. Let's talk about that. You're a premium subscriber, so you and I can chat later on through email. Just write me an email. Let me know your thoughts on the class, and then I can give advice, okay? Bilal, she is a student. Yes. Sarbajit, this is the homework for premium subscribers to do the reading. Rosa will email you after class. Yeah, I'll email all the students as well after class. I usually see Health Magazine, the graphic. Yeah, Aaron, Health Magazine is like between People Magazine and a scientific magazine sometimes. Depends on the magazine. All right. Abderrahim, the topic is stated earlier, so just rewind the video. Okay. Let's see. Good morning, Yusuf. Yes. All right. Could you tell the summary of the lesson? So, Sarbajit, yes, summary of this lesson. We looked at academic vocabulary very quickly, and we talked about a discussion of experts and a consensus of experts. We introduced the topic of climate change, and then we briefly looked at this reading. We're going to return to it next class. So just come back next week, same time, same place, and we will recap what we did last class, and we will go back into it. We're going to do this same topic, okay? Graph is the reflection of the sun's rays. Yes, French Leo, you're right. Helps us to concentrate, yeah. That's the lesson. So yes, we don't want to waste time, French Leo says, looking up all the words we don't know. You should make a note of them though and look them up later, but the truth is you might understand through context the meaning of the word without having to look it up. And we will talk more about that next class. See you, Nora. Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody. I really appreciate it. You guys are wonderful, amazing students. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. You guys are wonderful. And we will see you next week, okay? So take care, and as always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Take care, everybody. I will see you later, all right? Bye-bye.